One Punch! Hello, everybody. Welcome to the One Punch Recap Show. I'm Rob Duenas, graphic artist, Esquire. And if you're joining in for the very first time, you should know that every week we will be taking an in-depth look at each episode of the One Punch Man anime. Joining me today to help out is Ashley West from GangFeather.com. Ashley, say hi.
Hello.
Hey, and also rejoining me is resident One Punch Cosbro, Brandon Let Heavy James.
You are hyped up.
Huh? You
like
should hear the
Oxmere.
music. You don't hear what I hear. You don't hear the sweet sounds of one punching. So, all right. Basically, we are on episode 3. The first 2 episodes are in the playlist. You can check them out. But we're on episode 3 of One Punch Man, the Obsessive Scientist. That's the name of the episode. And a brief recap in the episode would be that it opens up with an origin story. We learn about who the House of Evolution is, the history behind the guy who runs it, Genos. We also get introduced to a new villain, get introduced to some origin stories. We have a pretty badass battle, and it wraps it all up with some mysterious organization and some Saturday shopping. That about cover it? I think we lost Brandon. Ashley, there?
Yes.
Thank you, Brandon. You lost? You dropped out?
I don't know what happened.
I
was just talking and then...
All right, let's go. Come on, let's move on. So, that's the basic recap for the episode. Let's talk about highlights. Brandon, you want to start?
Sure do. Okay. Let's start with I don't really care much for the mad scientist guy, but my first thing I really like about the episode was when Genos and Saitama are outside the big giant building with all the stories, the Evil Lairs Bays, and Genos just blows the shit out of the whole thing. Not just the building, but everything in front of it, leaving a giant crater, just wake of nothingness. And Saitama just looks at him and goes, "That was kind of mean." And I love that part because it's just like, yeah, I would imagine just blowing everything out of existence a little mean, but he just says it in such like a calm manner, like, "Hey, that was kind of a dick move." I
think
really like that.
the setup for that was great because right before now, I want to preface there's 2 characters. There's Genos, his sidekick, but the doctor's name is Genos. So you got to be like, they got to be careful there. Like their names are awfully similar.
Oh, yeah.
And so they show up to Dr. Genos's House of Evolution, which is this kind of cool vertical looking building, like high-tech building out in the forest. And they had just set up with all these levels. Like right before that, Dr. Genos is arming up the House of Evolution. And if you look on the screen, it says like maze level, water level, like all these different levels that are being geared up and protected and waiting for Saitama to show up. And then like when they get there, Genos just fucking blows. He blows, I mean, like a giant, it turns it into a perfectly smooth, like half dome. Like,
Yeah.
just a giant right through it, and the look on like Saitama's face is great because he's like, "Ah, that was kind of mean." Like, so Ashley, did you that particular part? So yeah, go ahead, Ashley. Sorry, did you have anything to say about that part?
Oh no, I thought you were sorry. It sounded like you were trying to say something. No, I liked it, but yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add on to it. So.
Brandon, you're killing me tonight.
I have
dude.
no idea why I keep getting dropped.
I just want one technical free show 1 week. One technical free. This is what happens when you're late. You might have to reboot your computer. If it happens again, reboot it and we'll go on without you. So, Ashley, yeah, that was a great part. So, Ashley, name another part for you. Like, what do you...
All right. Well, okay, so the part where they get in and they're facing Carnage Kabuto. Wait, is it Kabuto or Kabuto? I just watched that. Okay, I just watched the episode. Okay, so it's all fresh in my mind. So I just like it when Kabuto, he just throws Genos on the ground. Genos goes just like crazy. You know, he just sprawls out, blah, 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 and he lands kind of at Saitama's feet or around that area. And he tries to blast him a few more times, but his face is kind of getting all messed up. And there comes to one point where Saitama's just like, "Hey, your face is cracked. You need to calm down. Look what that guy did to you." And then his hair is like in an afro.
Yeah.
And then it turns to Kabuto, and Kabuto just goes, "Meh," like with his tongue. And I just like laughed. And I just like audibly I just laughed and I was like that was great. And then it just cut to commercial. But
Yeah, Genos gets like Froglow going on
yeah,
there. Like,
yeah.
it's,
He doesn't make, and it's funny because they don't really make a reference. They don't really, it's like they take it so seriously that they just kind of let it sit there and you just keep looking at it through like, I guess it's there the whole episode. I don't think it goes away.
well, I think what's funny about it, what's interesting is that he always looks cool, right? So like, rather than him getting the shit kicked, I mean, he has the shit kicked out of him, but versus death or decapitation, which doesn't seem to matter because he's a robot, his looks are messed up.
Yeah.
That's, oh my god, like he got his ass handed to him so hard. That brings me to one of my highlights for the episode. I got two major things. The first is this Genos versus Carnage Kabuto fight, and it's the opening battle where basically when Carnage first shows up, he pushes Genos, he slams Genos in the wall, and Saitama says that he got turned into modern art, like because his face is
Yes, I
permanent.
liked that too.
You turned my sidekick into modern art. So they go into this basically like this training room, which is all white. They go to fight. And right before Saitama and Carnage could fight, Genos shows back up. He like unleashes this giant flame explosion from the hallway. And if you look back, you can see the charred remains of the floor. It goes all the way back to the hallway. And Genos has his hand up in like a giant weapons blast Iron Man pose. And then his eyes flash yellow. And then he leaps, like, and this is like where the animation gets pretty fucking awesome. Like he leaps and flicks from like left to right, and then there's this shot looking, it's like looking down, so he's running straight at Carnage Kabuto, like typical badass kind of anime run. Flips, like he does this rolling flip. It's almost like Street Fighter. I was a Guile, kind of like a flash kick, but in reverse. Roll flips in the air and hits Kabuto in the head. And which absolutely does nothing. Like he gets deflected and then skids into the camera. Like he skids like right up into the camera. Like it's pretty badass. And then Genos like throws a bunch of fireballs at Kratos, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, and like a circle. Like he's like circling around Genos. I mean Carnage. Like do. Fireball, 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 and then leaps straight up into the air, which is like the best animation of the episode, where he leaps straight up in the air, goes all the way up into the ceiling, and then comes straight down like just total Street Fighter style. Wow! And then right before he hits him, it slows. It just pauses for a second, and then he like hits him with all these like these fireball hits, like, and it does like nothing. It does absolutely nothing. Carnage hits Genos, and he just ragdolls all the way back into Saitama's arms. Like, and it happens in gotta be like 40 seconds. Like, it's tremendously awesome. You there?
Yeah.
All right. I just need you to tell me there because Brandon is rebooting his computer. You can't seem to
Okay.
connect for some reason. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
but
do
it
this.
was great. It's great. Like I love this. I mean, I love the whole fighting part. Basically, I love Carnage Kabuto's character. It's because he's so like so weird but awesome. He's got that really crazy smile. They draw him these like crazy lips and crazy smile, and it just makes him just really uncanny. And that's the cool. I think that was what makes his character all that much cooler. So.
Have you seen Ninja Scroll?
No.
The anime movie from the 90s. It's one of the best ever.
I've
Not the
heard of.
series, but a movie. It's one of the first ones Madhouse became famous for. Madhouse, I believe they're producing the animation on this. So they he's very Madhouse-esque, Ninja Scroll-esque, where he has this long face with the big chin, and almost like like Joe Mad a little bit, like old school Joe
Hmm.
Madureira with the big mouth. But he's shaped like a beetle, and I believe Dr. Gina says like he's the final form of
Yeah, he's
evolution.
like a rhino beetle.
Yeah, it's like the final form of evolution is to become a beetle, which are big in Japan, the beetles. And I thought what was cool is when he charges up to like finally fight Saitama, he turns all Evangelion. Like his shell cracks and he turns into purple and green.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he goes total Evangelion on him.
I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh man, it's getting good now. Like, turning into some crazy monster.
Which
So
brings me to your second point. I made a mistake,
yeah.
which was
That was okay. So basically, Saitama's getting his ass kicked, and he's just like, oh my gosh, I think I might have made a mistake. And you're like thinking, and I actually, they got me. I was like, is he like too weak? But he's not too, I mean, how could he be too weak? Because he's Saitama. And then all of a sudden he's just like, but that means today's Saturday. Or, like he gets to the point where he's like, because, okay, so basically, when Carnage Kabuto says like he goes into his rampage mode, his Carnage mode, he stays there for like a week. And
Right.
so, and Saitama, and the day is Saturday. And so Saitama goes, so if he's in this mode for a week, that means he'll be like this till Saturday. And today is Saturday. And he basically comes to the conclusion where he's like, and that means that the what is it, the market sale is today, right?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
like
the
sale?
the,
And he
the
goes,
sale.
that means that the sale's today. And he's like, then I made a mistake. I missed it or whatever. And he just like freaks out, and then he just punches him, and I mean it goes back to normal. You're like, oh no, there's Saitama, one punching, and so
And
I
it's
thought
just
that was really good.
green beetle blood everywhere.
Yeah,
Like
but
just
I started laughing because right when I got it, I just laughed because I was like, oh man, it's just like some kind of, it's like all, it's like they made something light out of something heavy, and I loved it. I guess the levity, they made something. It was just like I guess it was poking fun at itself.
yeah, because
I
you
guess.
almost think that Saitama's just in the wrong fight. He's going to lose finally,
Right. Yeah.
because they just got done telling Saitama's origin. And so you think maybe he's not that powerful, and maybe this guy is super badass and super tough, and he's not going to make it. And it turns out he's just really bummed he missed out on the sale.
Yeah. And I love that. And I mean, to add to your fight, I probably that was like my favorite part of the whole story, the actual fight between them. Uh, because I mean, it's like the climax basically, and you put that as one of your points. So
Yeah, the animation is like the best in the whole episode.
yeah.
Brandon, you back?
I am back.
Perfect. So Brandon, bring on to your next point.
Okay, I want to backtrack, and I don't know if it was covered, but I really like, and I missed this before I talked about him blowing away the building. Genos, him and Genos and Saitama are actually running to that building, and Genos looks back at him and says, "I thought you can fly," and Saitama says, humans don't fly," And so that kind of, I know you were talking about it last episode where you weren't sure if he was human or what he is, but I think as far as he knows and as far as we know, then he's human. He's making the point that humans can't fly and he can't fly.
He
So,
considers himself human.
yeah, he
And
considers
and
himself human.
and in this episode, like that's one of the things I want to get into. So we have two origin stories in this episode, right? We have Dr. Genus's and the House of
Hmm.
Evolution, and then we come to find out through Saitama's own words how his supposed origin, how he became so strong, and because they literally corner he's cornered by Dr. Genus. He's got Genos there, who's got the big fro, and Carnage Kabuto. And they're like, tell us the secret. And he's like, I'll tell you exactly how I got the way I was. But you got to stick to the regimen. It's 100 push-ups, 100 like sit-ups, 100 squats,
Hmm.
and a 10-kilometer run every day. And no air conditioning in the summer. And everyone's just like, what? Like I love that part where Genius goes, that's not even like it's a standard workout. I mean, it's
Right.
kind of
That's just
subpar. It's not
it's
even.
living in poverty, and just taking care of yourself a little bit.
And I think Saitama believes. Like he says the way you get strong is you work out until your hair falls out. Like he basically equates losing his hair to his strength.
Uh-huh.
And I'm uncertain if that's maybe some Japanese culture joke that I may not be aware of. I'll have to ask my wife about that one. She knows a lot about that. So, but it definitely is like a reverse Samson, from the old mythology, right? Samson with the big hair. The hair gave him the power. In this case, it's reversed. He's smooth. Like he
Hmm.
has no. I don't even think he has eyebrows. He
No.
has no
Or
body hair
I think so.
whatsoever. Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't seen. Well, his nether regions are always covered up by smoke or stop signs, right, Brandon?
we're back to bulge talk. It's not a recap episode. We're not talking bulges. Is it a
I
big
looked.
cloud of smoke? Is it a little cloud
I,
of smoke?
I looked. I had to look, see if Kabuto. Nope, it was covered by armor. Just making
Oh,
sure.
you're such a pervert. Perverts.
Beetle bulge. Could have been great if it was like a little alien snapper.
Or a
So,
horn.
Okay, no,
Maybe a
no.
horn.
Okay, this is getting weird.
yeah, it's gonna get very weird. All
I
right.
don't, I don't, I don't put it past the show. I really don't. I mean, it could have been like an extra horn or some ridiculous thing.
Siamese twin.
Yeah,
But
it could be anything with this show. You never know.
yeah, but there is that point where they're running to the House of Evolution,
Hmm.
and yeah, he makes a point. Genos makes a point. Why are we running? I thought you could fly. And it does kind of look in the credits like he might be able to fly because he's like hovering in space.
Right.
But I think for me, he's just like the original Superman in that he couldn't really fly. He could just leap really far, run really fast.
Leaped tall buildings.
Yeah. And so for me, like this anime is the perfect like Superman anime, wherein he's
Mhm.
so strong. Now it's up to like what the other characters go through and then how he lives his life.
What
Which
else they bring to the table?
yeah. Ashley, you wanted to bring up the training regimen. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, okay. So we're not really sure what Saitama is. Kind of like I feel like some kind of missing. I guess he's not really a missing link, but what I mean is he's just like this enigma that everyone can't really figure out. And I'm just like, what if it's kind of like the power of suggestion, where it's like if you believe something is a certain way, or if you believe you can do it, then you can do it. I know it's kind of weird, but that's kind of how they're making it seem like he just like he believed that he could do it, and he stuck to it, like like it was like it was do or die, and he just, I guess, I don't know, he's like so regimented that I don't know how to explain it. It's just I feel like it's more of like this like
Willpower.
willpower kind of meditation zone that he's in, that people like around him have not reached. It's just
So you're saying anyone could reach this level if they have that mindset to it.
yeah, it's like this mindset that you have to get in, and I don't think anybody
So
can.
almost like anyone can have powers on this planet as long as they will it.
I don't really know if it's so much that. I mean, it's really hard to say. I'm really bad at expressing my
No,
thoughts.
I think the thing that one thing we don't know is how so far we don't really know how the heroes are created in this universe, right? We don't really know how that works. Like apparently they're just people, right, who have their extraordinary abilities or extraordinary technology.
Mhm.
They don't seem to be like. I mean, we did have the scientist, right? So it's science where he remember like he poured the mixture and then he made his brother super big. We had the car guy who transformed into weird car monsters because he was into car culture. So
Yeah, see, and it's like One Punch is like, I'm gonna be so strong that I am. I'm just the strongest because I believe. I don't know. It just seems like it's more of like this
We
mental.
haven't we haven't seen any magic, have we? There hasn't been any
Uh,
magic.
not yet.
so
No.
No, not yet.
So it's just science and
Discipline.
just straight discipline.
Well, he doesn't seem to be in it for the fame or anything, right? Like he's
No.
just wanted to get really, 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 really good, and he doesn't quite know what to do with himself in a way. I do think that if there's anything that's superhuman about him, uh, outside of what he says he did, it's that his clothes never once get burnt to a crisp in this episode. Because the last episode they got burnt right off him, but
Hmm.
in this episode, remember when the giant fiery explosion comes back at him? Kabuto
Right.
blows the flames back at Saitama with the. Um, I can't
Wait,
tell if Saitama was he using Genos to block him from that at the time, or was he just? It was hard to
um,
tell
I
because
don't
it
know.
just looked like his clothes just
Well,
took the hit.
didn't his clothes burn off in the second one because
Yeah.
he was wearing normal, everyday clothes?
Oh, that's right. So his suit is not normal everyday clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder what.
Wonder how he got that.
Yeah, and what was it? Did they have like hero tied, like, tied
Yeah.
tied with superhero, color guard, like protects from fire? Remember Blank Man, that movie Blank Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the '90s. And there was that scene where he was, he's got like his clothes are made from robes and shit, but he had this dip. He'd pour everything in, so it would make it super strong, so he couldn't get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. If you haven't seen Blank Man, Ashley, waste 2 hours of your life, and
Is it pretty bad, or
it's
is it?
it's funny. It's funny, but yeah,
It's one of those. It's one of those so bad it's good.
yeah. I think so.
Uh,
I'd watch it over Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Yeah, all right, then I'd
So
probably
there
watch
you go.
it.
I would not.
Uh,
Shut up, Brandon.
okay, I also have a question before I forget. Okay, so I didn't get a chance to go back and see it, but they right when Saitama and Genos get to the like forest part, it's like the very first few seconds of the scene. There's like this black thing laying in the road. What was that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it was
The black thing
they,
laying in the
there's like
road.
this. I don't know what it was. It was like a monster or some kind of dead thing. It looked like giant roadkill, but I didn't know. I mean, they didn't ever go back to it, so I guess it wasn't really a big
Huh.
part of the
I don't remember.
story. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to figure. I was trying to see. Hold on.
I can look it up right now.
Yeah.
Brandon, talk about the opening origin with the House of Evolution. The way it opens up, we get this origin story.
Basically, you got the mad scientist just telling his troubles as a kid and how he didn't really ever fit in with the other kids, and it's weird because other kids and the humans look like what's the movie with about the souls, the you guys like it, the guy Spirited Away type creatures where they all look like the
Yeah,
black
he sees
ghouls with the
humans
eyes,
as like little ghost ghouls and stuff.
right.
Oh.
um Yeah, and then he hates everyone, so he decides to create, clone himself and make more of him because he loves himself, and that's how it all starts. And now you have like I don't remember how many there was, but there was at least 20 of them. I mean, there's just tons of them where they're just expendable, and the whole house of evolution is just basically him. So I mean, it's kind of funny that it's all about evolving, but it's just copies of him. It's not really making him better. It's just versions of him. So.
Yeah, he considers himself to be like the
The
only human worth living,
right.
and everything else is about furthering evolution.
Well, I kind of noticed this duality between Genus and Saitama is that they're both obsessed. Obviously, Genus is obsessive, but
Hmm.
he's obsessed about learning how to advance the human species, I guess, into something ultimate. And whereas Saitama is like he's also kind of obsessive and regimented. Like he obviously trained so hard every day and stuck to it, even though it may be a simple regimen to some people. He still stuck to it and he just did it every day. So he's kind of like obsessed
I
with
like
it.
it when he says he kept doing it even when his arms would make these clicky noises, which looks like his elbows
And
breaking.
actually, I understand that because I work out too, and I hear those clicks. So I like understand what he's talking about. I was like, I understand what you're saying, man. And but yeah, he's like obsessive, and they're both obsessive in different ways. And like he like wants to go to the supermarket, and nothing can get in the way. And then when something gets in the way, he kind of freaks out a little bit. Kind of like he doesn't like change. I mean, yeah, I don't think he likes change.
I
I'm
think
not
he just
gonna.
lives in a little bubble and sticks to doing the same thing over and over again, which
Yeah,
is what
which
Genus did, right?
which like I can relate to. So again, I kind of understand where he's coming from, but
Yeah, I
the
think I
science
think the
a little.
writing of the show or the manga comes from the creator who's an obsessive artist. I mean, as to be a professional artist, you're basically committed to like a life of, you know,
Craziness,
you know,
loneliness.
yeah, and just
Yeah,
focus singularly on doing something. And so I feel like all the different superheroes are in some way caricatures of artists in a way. I mean, but
Uh,
maybe because I'm an artist and I see that, but I do see that in the show. Um,
yeah, but I
I
that's why I really like that point, the obsessiveness.
I do want to note that Dr. Gina says that he studied until he was 70, and he looks more like he's 170.
Oh, I know,
Like,
I saw
like I
that.
was like, that's a horrible looking 70-year-old guy. Like he has
right.
no teeth. Like his gums are like hanging down. Like, he looks
He
ridiculously
looks like the
horrible.
dog in Family, that old man's dog in Family Guy, where it's just hanging skin on bones. It's bad.
To go
Yeah.
back to the scene you were talking about, Ashley, it's so the camera pans down. It goes from the House of Evolution. They're gonna basically secure the whole fortress because Saitama and Genos are coming, and then there's this pan down shot, and the camera's panning down, and you see this sign. It's of a bear, so it says bear crossing, and then if it looks down, there's a bear on the ground who's been run over. That's what that is.
Yeah,
It's a bear. He's like
I
he's like
told you it was
twitching.
like giant roadkill.
Yeah, yeah, and then it cuts to Genos, and Saitama running through the forest. So they basically just ran over the bear.
Okay, I thought it was something like that. Like it was like Saitama must have like killed something. And like okay.
Saitama's addicted to bears.
Yeah,
All right.
it's like the opposite of the Revenant. You know, they
Yeah, I
just
was just
ran.
gonna say. Oh man.
There's so many little Easter. I want this isn't even an Easter egg, but there's so many little touches to the humor in the show that you basically can. If you could just anytime you see something cool, just stop and go back 4 or 5 frames if
Yeah.
you can, or on Hulu, like I watch it, hit the 10-second rewind and just kind of watch
Oh,
it
I
a
need
few
to do
times.
that. Yeah, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to. Fine,
Yeah,
whatever.
there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Brandon, you have something you want to bring up about Saitama's troll?
Oh, he makes so many, and this is parentheses, troll slash meme faces. He makes just the ugliest, ridiculous faces like all the time. And, people make memes out of those things and they call it trolling, when you make those faces. But he gives those looks like you're stupid or why he just has that bewildered look or angry look. There's so many faces on this show that I mean, if you had to put him down, there's at least probably 100 different faces that he makes, and they're all just bonkers. It's always that's how you know how he's feeling is by his facial expressions only. He doesn't really cry. He doesn't yell much. He doesn't. He's very just mellow. I don't want to say mellow tone, but he's very just simplistic. But his face is where you get all the emotion. And I mean, like most faces, but his is just overboard. Just like when I said earlier, where he said that was kind of mean after ending. His face has that smoke on it. He makes that just dumb look, just like, geez, all right. I love his faces. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the show because you just never know how he's going to react because something will happen, the camera goes to him, and he's got this weird look of just bored or angry all over the place.
There's a security camera footage in the House of Evolution of him and Saitama coming through the basement floor.
Uh huh.
That they're approaching, and if you look at Saitama, like he's picking his nose, like, like
Yeah.
yeah, like he's just totally like, I wonder what's going on here. And he's just like digging up there for stuff. Like he never, he's the least heroic guy on the show, from a looking cool perspective. I also think too, there's a joke I wanted to bring up too. I thought was hilarious. So the opening is this origin for Dr. Genos, and you find out that the narrator's armored gorilla from the last episode. He's still on the ground. He's basically telling them about his origin, and they're like, "Cut it short." Genos is like, "You got to tell in 20 words or less," which is what Saitama told him in the previous episode. Then you go credit
Uh
sequence,
huh.
and then it comes back, and Armored Gorilla goes, "Well, basically, in other words, my boss has become very curious about your body." And then Saitama cuts back and very nonchalantly goes, "Sorry, I'm not into dudes."
Right.
Like he doesn't think like a hero would think. He sort of thinks like how we would, like,
Right.
you're into my body, huh?
I want this.
And Geno's just like tries to ignore it and
Yeah.
get right on to like, how many other,
Because
cyber
he's the
wars.
serious one. He doesn't really crack those jokes like that. And
Yeah, he wants
I
to know
like
how many other cyborgs are there. And Armor Gorilla's like, there's only me. So overall, what were your thoughts about this episode so far? Like, compared to the other two, Brandon.
Oh, well, hold on. I want to make one more. I don't know if you talked about it, but and you might have. But when Carnage was freaking out about Saitama leaving himself wide open, but the danger levels were going crazy and driving Carnage insane. Did you talk about that part?
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I really love that part where Carnage thinks he can just go in and attack, and Saitama just stands there, just leave himself wide open, and that freaks the shit out of Carnage. He can't handle it. That he's just like, "What are you? Like, you're driving my senses crazy, but you're not even doing anything." So I liked that a lot. It was just the fear of someone who's not even doing anything, where you could just stand there and be such a badass that you give off that vibe, like, go ahead, take your shot, but you're gonna lose.
I think
So
it's the first time too he's animated tiny, because like it pulls back so he looks small, and he does his little wing, like
right,
his little wings pop out, and he flies backward, and he's basically hugging the wall, like he's like right up against it, like, oh, I don't, this dude. And then eventually he gives in and goes, I could probably beat this guy anyhow. And it didn't work out too well for Kabuto. I think Dr. Genus got away, right? At the end of the episode?
Yeah.
Like,
He
yeah,
kind
he
of just stood there. He didn't really go away. They went away from him. He was like they just like blew a giant hole out of the building and went away to the
yeah, they were
supermarket.
to the supermarket.
And he just looked at them and was like, I don't know what he said though. Like he might have said something
Well,
devious. I
he
don't.
said if no one else has to change, he might have to be the one that has to change. I
Yeah.
think is what he said, something like
I
that.
also would like to note that when Saitama was talking about training, what's his face? Carnage was like training. Like he was always this powerful. Like he never had to train a day in his life because he was like made this way. And I don't know. I just thought. I'm sure that's what it meant. You know, like he's never had to train at all because of his origins.
Right.
So, but what else was I gonna say? No, somebody else go.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, let's just give you a wrap up, Brandon, for this episode compared to 1 and 2. So far
Best one so far.
for you.
Best one, yes, best one so far. Just because of the action, the overall giant villain compared to him, but he's still a badass. I like the comedy. I like the afro. Overall, just had everything I wanted from the first 2 episodes and this one. So I really liked it. Best episode so far.
Ashley.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think I'm gonna have to say, yeah, probably best episode. And I was not really expecting it to be, better than the first one. I was like, oh, it was a scientist, and then I was like, whoa, it's awesome beetle dude and crazy fighting. Okay.
No bulges. Oh no.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I
poor
don't know. That
Brandon.
might have been a little bit scary. I don't know. I'm kind of glad.
And then for me, I think not as much happened in the episode as say episode 2 or 1 even, but what does happen is paced really really well, and it's not just a needless fight sequence. You actually learn about the characters during the fight, which for me is the hallmark of always a good fight. A fight isn't just because they battle and it's a lot of cool shit happens. That you're actually learning about the character more through the fight.
Why they're fighting.
Motivations or history or anything. Yeah, the best example for that would be like in the first Matrix film. Every fight you learn something about Neo. So I feel so far this fight, you learned who Carnage Kabuto was. Obviously you learned about Saitama and his training regimen. You also get a good sense of the limits of Genos. And then their friendship. Like it's almost like Genos ends up in a damsel in distress. Like he's hanging in Saitama's arms in a way like Lois Lane might. Like but he doesn't give up. You gotta give that guy credit. He doesn't give up. But even throughout it, you find that Saitama's motivations at this point is still saving money. Like money is still like a big deal to him. The culmination of the fight is that he just screwed up and forgot that today is coupon day, basically, and he picked the wrong day to pick a fight. So. And it's great to see how quickly Genos is there to support his master and helping him save a buck or two at the supermarket. They exit it quickly. I also think at the very end, the stinger is actually pretty cool. This is the first time we see really more of a story. Like the first stinger was Genos and the cattle. And the second one was a little bit with the scientists. But this one we get to see this organization. They're obviously aware of the cyborg, Genos, and they don't seem to know who Saitama is. So I thought that was pretty cool at the end. So yeah, I'd say for me, I think the second episode is still my favorite right now. But that's because I like the frogman and the pink guy who just get destroyed. Like so many random animal characters appear and then get destroyed in 2 seconds. But
They're
I
like
think
cute little animals. They're not even really that mean.
yeah,
looking.
Ground Dragon's so cute. Like he's got
I
Ground
know. I was like,
Dragon.
what happened to Ground Dragon?
But the fight sequence on this one, like I said, the Genos fight so far is the coolest I've seen yet. So really, really good episode. All right, so that's a wrap, folks. That's episode 3. Brandon, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Lead Heavy.
Ashley, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and I'm Gang Feather.
Awesome. As always, folks, you can find me here at sketchcraft.net, which is the YouTube channel, or sketchcraft.com. Take you right to the Facebook. I post daily, post updates, artwork, all that good stuff. As always, don't forget the One Punch Recap Show is recorded in front of a live internet audience and fully supported by viewers like you. Please leave your comments and feedback below. Share the videos. Honestly, I prefer that even more than subscriptions because there's more you share, the more we care. Right? And we'll see you on the next episode, episode 4, next week. A little bit late, but because we're going to Phoenix Con. Phoenix Con! Oh, sorry, Arizona Amazing Con in Phoenix. There you go, Rain. I got it right. So, but we'll be back next week. Until then, One Punch. Do, 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 do. One Punch! There we go.
One Punch.
Yeah.
Nothing to say, Brandon?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope.